Truth or error? One Spirit. One Spirit is the Father of spirits. And that Spirit can do what you see. It starts in Genesis chapter 1. The Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. And from there, it goes on to what you can read. And today, the traditions of men has totally done what traditions do. They will cut you off from what you need. And that's what had happened when Jesus appeared, coming from the wilderness, and began to teach as one having authority. He messed up their program, didn't he? Yes, the religious leaders of that day had joined themselves to the Roman Empire, which was ruling what you can understand as the world of that day. The Roman Empire was ruling in Jerusalem when God sent his son into town to preach. And he caused much problem for the religious leaders. Although he really didn't cause a problem for the government, the rulers, because the rulers wanted to release Jesus and not let him be crucified. But there was a problem with what they wanted. And that problem was that it was God's will for Jesus, his son, who had been born in Bethlehem, to die on a certain day at a certain time. And folks, when God determines something, and whoever he speaks to, goes along with him, things work out. And God had made it known to Jesus that he was going to Jerusalem and that there he would be crucified. But his Father gave him a promise. Son, you can trust me. You can trust me with your life. And Jesus knew that he could trust his Father. If you don't think he knew it, then you haven't read Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And I doubt most of you, probably most of you that, will see this, there's a good chance you read Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Yep. And then you got hung up on John 1:1. Jesus didn't get hung up on Matthew, Mark, or Luke, or John 1:1. Jesus just simply listened to what his Father said to him, and he made it known. And he listened well. That's why he could say, "He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit is saying." Most people today do not have an ear that hears and obeys the right spirit, but they hear and obey the other spirit. The adversary, the enemy, the one who deceives the nations, whom he will be removed, and he won't be walking around or floating around or doing anything for 1,000 years, because he's going to be locked, sealed, put away, covered up, and he won't be released until the Father of Jesus Christ lets him be released. And that will be his final release. Until then, he is doing what he can do to destroy men and women. And once he has filled the heart, it's not that much problem to get it destroyed. Ananias and Sapphira was a husband and a wife who lived not long after Jesus ascended into heaven. And this man and his wife sold a piece of property, and they got together and put some in a place for themselves. Folks, that was not as fatal as it was the day when Joshua saw the walls of Jericho go down. Because that day a man found some silver and gold and buried it in his tent. And the next city that was to be conquered, 36 men lost their life. And Joshua fell on his face before the Lord and wanted to know why. So folks, God is serious. The man who knoweth the right thing to do should do it. God's mercy is great. If God's mercy is great, great can be his wrath. And this is the end of video number 3.